Quiet on the set, please.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
And action!
Welcome to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign. If you love old movies, Hollywood history, or the golden age of filmmaking, you've come to the right place. This is the podcast that talks about amazing stories of Tinseltown from another era. Hear fascinating conversations with writer-producer Steve Cubine, who quite literally lives just beneath the Hollywood sign, and actress-writer Nan McNamara. Now your hosts, Steve and Nan.
Welcome, everybody. We have a really exciting episode for you today. And if our sound quality is a little different than you're used to, it's because we're actually filming in a remote location. The remote location, one of the most iconic landmarks in the world. Of course, Nan and I currently are standing at the base of the iconic Hollywood sign in Hollywood, California. This sign has witnessed a century of hopes and dreams and a little drama too. So we're going to talk all about it. These towering letters behind us, they perched over Hollywood, 1,400 feet, and they symbolize hopes and dreams of everybody who migrates to Hollywood.
Now, normally you wouldn't even be able to stand where we're standing right now. In fact, if you were standing where we are, you'd be arrested, most likely.
Which I almost was once.
Yes, but from our special vantage point, we get to be here today at the invitation of our very special guest. DIANA WRIGHT is an award-winning comedy writer and director whose work spans television and film, narrative podcasts, and gaming. She's an LA native. She's the daughter of a Nobel Prize-winning astrophysicist and a top-secret government weapons designer. I'm trying to imagine what those dinner conversations were like, right?
Exactly.
DIANA is actually part of the team that handles public relations for the Hollywood Sign Trust, an organization of 9 men and women whose mission is to preserve and promote the Hollywood sign as a symbol of hopes and dreams and international filmmaking. DIANA, thank you so much for bringing us to this amazing view and to talk about the Hollywood sign up close and personal.
Of course. Happy to drag you down this mountain.
Well, half the fun was getting here, so thank you.
Well, yeah, it's we keep it tough to get here on purpose because it is a closed access area. So this is no trespassing, and it is within Griffith Park. So we want to keep it hard.
Yes.
We don't want to make it easy.
Well, DIANA, can you start off by just giving us a little history of the Hollywood sign?
Sure. Well, the Hollywood sign, quite like, the Hollywood fairy tale that it might represent, started out as just a lonely billboard. So in 1923, if you can imagine, all of this land below us was farmland. It was undeveloped. People didn't have much interest in living in it. And so they built this Hollywood sign. It originally said Hollywood Land. And that was for the real estate company to sell plots of lands down below for the Hollywood Land Real Estate Company, which was run by David Chandler, who went on to start the LA Times.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And this sign was really meant to last a year. It was kind of an era when big advertising, the Brown Derby looking like a hat, like people just wanted big and gaudy advertising. This sign was really just amongst those. It was a promotional gimmick, but it really kind of latched on to the hearts of people in Hollywood. So much that it has lasted way longer than the real estate development company has. And it kind of passed over. So in the 1940s, the sign was looking a little rough. It needed to be rehabilitated. It was the first time when we really sort of said, hey, are we going to keep the sign or should we fix it up? And it got passed to the city and the city fixed it up again. And that happened one more time in 1977 when the question became, hey, the sign really needs some work. Are we going to just tear it down or are we going to build it up? And then Hugh Hefner with the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce raised the funds. And that's the sign you see here today. And so it passed its 100th birthday in 2023, although, as an actress in Hollywood. She doesn't love talking about her age, but she's looking beautiful up on this hillside.
She is.
I like to think of her as a kind of a Sunset Boulevard,
Yes,
you
our
know,
little
starlet.
Norma Desmond right
exactly.
here.
Right.
I have a quick question because I love this story that I guess back in the 40s, there was actually a caretaker who lived up here. Can you tell me about him?
Yeah, so originally, as I mentioned, the sign had lights on it, and so it would flash. It would flash Hollywood Land. And there was actually just a big white dot there too, that would flash up as well to catch your eye and bring you to the sign itself. All of those light bulbs were individual light bulbs. Can you imagine like a vanity mirror that, you know, an old school vanity mirror where they have all the light bulbs on it? They're all individually placed. And so there was a caretaker who stayed pretty close by here. He had a little cabin, and he would come and change out those light bulbs as they burnt out.
Yeah. And wasn't there a story about maybe he had a little too much to drink one night or something? I think I've heard the story. Maybe.
Yeah, there's some thoughts that, you know, maybe he was having a little bit too much fun and drove a car into the Hollywood sign. We don't know quite. You know, again, because the sign has become a landmark, some of this stuff is lost to history because if you think about it, you don't know what caretaker has crashed into a billboard, you know, in various places. And so a lot of that interesting first history about the building of the sign isn't as reported as we would like, as we'd imagine, considering what the sign means to us today.
Right. Well, you talked about the real estate company, Hollywood Land. When did the land part of the sign go away and why?
So that was when the city took over the sign. They decided, hey, we're not Hollywood Land, we're Hollywood. So we're going to remove the land. And so we're standing in front of the posts of the land here. And that really shows you what it was built on. It was built with telephone poles. It was built with small tin squares. And it was built with those light tracks on top of it. So the tin squares would pop out. It kind of gave the Hollywood sign like a 7-year-old smile, like it would just have missing gap teeth. Things like that. So when they rebuilt it, they were like, let's take off the land and make it the Hollywood sign, and then that can kind of be owned and operated by the city.
Gotcha.
You know, I know there was a transition from it being just an advertisement to it becoming this iconic symbol of everything that is Hollywood. When do you think that transition happened, and what was it like?
I think that transition happened while the transition of Hollywood coming to Los Angeles also existed. Because in the 1923, like most films were still being produced in Chicago, New York, and it was all these people running to Hollywood to get away from a patent. So it's all these kind of pirates coming to get away from paying Thomas Edison this patent.
Thomas Edison,
and going there. And so I think as people sort of started to develop Hollywood, and Hollywood became what it's known as today, I think the sign became more important to people because of that. And now I think it's just this international sign of kind of hopes coming true, dreams coming true. You're going to make it. And I think that's one of the reasons why filmmakers love to destroy it in their movies, because they're a little bit annoyed. But it's something where every time I can see it, and you can see it all over Los Angeles. Los Angeles is huge. And when you see it like on the 10 freeway and it pops out in the mountain, you just smile, and it just gives you a sense of place in a city that can make you feel very lost.
It's even in a Miley Cyrus song.
Yes. We do. We have a collection of films, TV, video games, songs, anything that mentions the sign. We want to know about it, and so we can track it.
Yeah. Well, your website is so thorough and so wonderful with the history of it as well. I have a question for you about someone who became known as the Hollywood Sign Girl. Can you talk about Peg Entwistle?
So Peg Entwistle is the Hollywood Sign Girl. So the story goes, she was an actress trying to make her way. She's had some success. She starred in some Broadway plays in New York. She came out here. She did one minor role. But, as Hollywood sometimes can be, the phone wasn't ringing as much as she would like. She was living with her uncle down in Beechwood Canyon. One night she got probably a little depressed, climbed up to the sign. There was a ladder there. Maybe our caretaker forgot the ladder. She climbed up to the H and jumped off the sign. Now, legend goes, the next day she received a letter offering her a role as a woman driven to suicide in a play.
Oh,
so,
the irony.
The irony of it, yes. There's some questions of if that actually happened the way it is. It's a pretty long walk to get to the sign from Beechwood Canyon, as you know, when you did your illegal jaunt in the 90s.
Whoops.
But you know, so we'll see. But I do want to honor her, and I think she tells this beautiful story about kind of the the dark side of Hollywood and the Hollywood dream. You know, and I think the sign is such a shining representation, but we have to honor her as the struggles that people go through.
Absolutely. And I know there's a lot of talk about there being a supernatural or ghostly element to the sign. I think a lot of people have said they've seen, maybe the ghost of Peg, or maybe smelled her cologne. Can you talk a little bit about that? And have you ever experienced anything kind of creepy?
So technically I don't, we only give tours during daylight hours. So I'm rarely here at night. But yes, we've heard rumors that I think it's gardenias that they can smell, that rumors was her perfume. We have had a few, paranormal shows reach out to us about doing something at the sign, and we have turned those down just because of the difficulties of being here. I imagine you wouldn't want to do this climb when it's dark out.
Yes, no.
Right. Diana, what can you tell us about the history of the trust, when and why it was established, and what its primary function is?
So the trust was originally established when this sign was rebuilt in 1978, and that was operating through the Chamber of Commerce. And then in the 90s, we added a few members from the city on board, and then it really launched up in the early 2000s, post 9/11. And in part, we wanted a dedicated group of people that were watching out for the sign itself, and that were there to raise the funds if it needed to be repainted, cleaned, and also we have cameras facing the sign. We have 24-hour LAPD watching the sign, and we needed someone to spearhead those initiatives.
Yeah.
So the trust came together, and they are 9 dedicated men and women. They are here to promote the city itself. They believe in Los Angeles as a city, not just a dream that can come true for you. And they're here to promote the city of Hollywood, the city of Los Angeles, and to keep the sign looking great. Because Jeff Zarian, who is our current head of the trust, he grew up here, and he saw the sign when it was looking terrible, and he said, "Why is this sign looking so bad?" And I think it's the message we want to send to Los Angeles, and so the trust is really there to preserve that message and to say, hey, Los Angeles is a place that you should come and visit, come out, have your dreams come true.
Now, one cool thing that I love about the sign is that sometimes it gets altered. Sometimes sanctioned, sometimes not.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of the fun alterations that have happened to the sign?
So a lot of these have happened before we put in the security cameras. I'm going to let you know that. Obviously we had a Hollyweed happen in the 70s, and then again in the early 2000s. I didn't love the rebrand, but I love the original. We had Holywood for when the Pope came.
Yes.
Caltech loved to prank our sign a little bit. We had go Poly, go UCLA, and then recently we just did Rams House for Rams winning, and we did Save the Trust when we did actually need to raise all of the funds for everything past the H. We raised money to keep that parkland.
And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's really wonderful.
Otherwise, we would have just lots of houses up there.
Yeah, it would have really changed the landscape
a
lot. And we got to open up hiking trails. And again, Hugh Hefner, who has been a big supporter of the Hollywood Sign Trust, he helped out to help make those trails happen and make sure that we raised enough funds.
Right. What are the biggest challenges in maintaining a structure like the Hollywood sign, given its location, its exposure to the elements, and as you mentioned, to people trying to perhaps change it?
Yes.
I think trespassers are really important. I think the Hollywood sign is a landmark unlike any other. You were talking about the Eiffel Tower recently. The Eiffel Tower has a visitor center, has a way to go up to the top. It has a nightly light show. It has a parking lot. It has all that infrastructure built into it. The Hollywood sign was a billboard built onto a mountain. And so we're trying to figure out a way to make a positive experience for tourists to come and experience the Hollywood sign while also keeping the residents safe.
Yeah.
We're in a huge fire zone right here. So we want to promote its message, and we also want to keep everyone safe who's experiencing the sign.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what is it like when you have to maintain or maintenance the sign? I mean, does that happen monthly, or what kind of schedule do you have for painting, repairs, things like that?
So a lot of it is actually done by nature. So, you know, they're often like, oh, are you washing the sign for the Oscars? And I'm like, no, rain did that a couple of weeks ago. In the 90th anniversary in 2013, we did a complete strip down. So we stripped down to the original metal. We got to see some fun 1970s graffiti on that.
Wow.
And that was the first time that had been done. And then we painted it up. Sherwin-Williams partnered with us. Duggar Construction partnered with us. And we completely repainted the sign. And that was the first time it had gotten any sort of makeover treatment like that. Then we did it again for the 100th, 2023. We did it again and did another coat of paint and things like that. Now, most of the time, this sign structure has held up really well. So most of the time we're not doing like the maintenance that people think. We did recently clear out all the rocks from the base of it because we were experiencing some structural damage. We've also done some digital scans of the sign so that if something happens, we can rebuild it and we would know how, and just trying to keep it up to date with modern technology.
Right. Well, you answered our next question, which was really about modern technology. You mentioned if drones come in the area that are not legal, that they're stopped by LAPD?
Yes. So as I mentioned, LAPD does watch the cameras, and also LAPD air support, the helicopters will come by. There are no drones allowed at the Hollywood sign, also within Griffith Park in general. So if you are flying a drone around here, they will the helicopters will come in and, you know, swoop you down. And again, that's for a safety reason as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, before we get more into the history of the sign and some of the TV shows and movies that have been filmed here, let's let our listeners know about this week's Hollywood Pop Quiz.
And the pop quiz question today, and I know you will know this, Diana, what are the dimensions of the Hollywood sign, the height and the overall width?
All right, we'll be back with that and
Easy
more
for
with
you.
Diana Wright and this beautiful view of the Hollywood sign right after this.
Steve and Ann will be right back, but first another stop on the Hollywood tour. Believe it or not, people used to be able to hike from below right up to the Hollywood sign. But because the sign is perched on a very steep hill, and because the city of Los Angeles doesn't want to be sued, visitors are no longer allowed to hike up to the sign. See, the city might be worried that hikers could fall and get hurt. They could also get bitten by a rattlesnake, or, like Diana said, drop a cigarette that would start a brush fire, endangering the homes below. So to prevent that, the Hollywood sign now has almost as much security as Fort Knox. In order to keep people away and keep the sign from being vandalized, a specially designed security system was developed. In fact, the Department of Homeland Security even got involved. That's how serious LA is about protecting its iconic sign. Now, they don't discuss all the details, but the consensus is the security involves razor wire, infrared technology, scads of live cameras, 24-hour monitoring, motion sensors, alarms, and even helicopter patrols. In fact, when Steve and Ann made that hike down to the sign, a Los Angeles Police Department helicopter flew overhead and radioed for 2 officers to verify they had permission from the Hollywood Sign Trust to be there. And our thanks again to our intrepid hosts and guides, Diana and Megan. And now back to Steve and Ann from beneath, where else? The Hollywood sign.
Welcome back, everybody, to our special episode of From Beneath the Hollywood Sign. And as you can see, I'm here with Nan, and I'm here with Diana Wright from the Hollywood Sign Trust, and we're below the Hollywood sign. So From Beneath the Hollywood Sign is literally beneath the Hollywood sign. So we're just getting into the story of the Hollywood sign, the history and things like that. And I know that the sign, Diana, sits amongst beautiful Griffith Park. And, you know, how does the trust work with the city and the park system to maintain, you know, that tourists have a good time, but also that the environmental impact is as low as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think because of where the sign sits within the park, this area has very little human interaction. And so we've seen a lot of wildlife come in here. Obviously, P22 is our favorite. You know, we got that great shot from National Geographic of P22 underneath the Hollywood sign. I mean, God, what a beautiful representation of the interesting mix of animals and humans that live in Los Angeles. I grew up in Beverly Glen Canyon. I had coyotes, mountain lions, rattlesnakes, scorpions in my backyard. And so to me, it's just, it shows just the wildness of this park. And, you know, we want to preserve that as well. We love it when we get birds nesting on the sign and things like that. To me, I'm like, this is their park and we've just put a sign in it.
Right. Well, you have some beautiful photographs on the website too of highlighted photographers. So listeners, please check those out because there are some amazing views from there. You touched on this a little bit, Diana, but can you talk about the tension that sometimes can arise between the residents and visitors trying to get close to the sign? How does the trust address that balance between access and preservation?
You know, I think we did a pretty good job keeping the sign's exact location under wraps for a really long time. And then, you know, Google Maps, GPS came in.
Ruined it.
I literally had to go to, fight Google Maps on it. And it does bring up, you guys went through the hillside. It's these tiny mountain roads. It's really, if you're not used to driving them, they can be very complex and complicated and dangerous. And the number one thing is if someone comes in, they smoke a cigarette, they throw that cigarette into this dry hillside, you know, we're getting a huge fire. So that's a real concern. And also right now, it's just because so many people want to have that photo of the sign, and we understand that, and we want to give a positive experience for that sign. We want to push people away from this area because we just don't have the infrastructure for it. So you're going to be like crowded, you're going to be tight. You know, who hasn't like gone and seen the Mona Lisa and been like, oh, that's it? You know? And so we want the experience to be like, that's it. You know, and I think that requires just a little bit of hand holding. So we're working on building a visitor center, building a more guided experience with the Hollywood sign. So you get that history, you get the photo that you're looking for, and you also get all those fun facts.
The sign, of course, it's appeared in so many TV shows and films and music videos and, you know, things like that. Does the Trust have any favorites that it's appeared in?
Well, I do love whenever the sign gets destroyed. It's it's always a little touching for me. I was up here and got to film Friends with Benefits, and so they shot at the actual sign. So the sign most often is getting a fake sign built within Griffith Park, and they're shooting there. Very few productions actually shoot here at the letters themselves. They'll do green screen, they'll do movie magic. And so often, like, I'll be watching something, they're at the sign, and I'm like, you can't drive a car there. You know, oh, we don't have platforms there. You know, I think the ones that, to me, either tell the true story, which is like, this is closed access. If you're there, you're going to get trespassed. So that's Friends with Benefits. The ones that are sort of like implying that you can just like go up here and have a picnic, I'm not a huge fan of there.
Right. Make your job a little harder.
Yeah, make our job a little bit harder. But yes, anytime, I mean, The Rocketeer is a fun one that I can remember.
Oh, yes.
You know, like 2012, like any of the Armageddon, like anytime they destroy the sign, I love it. I just feel like it's a filmmaker getting a little bit of frustration out on our letters.
Yeah, blow it up.
So how do you handle requests from filmmakers who actually want to film here?
So that is the many overlapping people that touch the sign, quite literally. So if you are a filmmaker and you want to shoot the sign in your film, you would go through the Film LA office and Rec and Parks Film office. And so they handle narrative shots of the sign. If you're coming to us and we're doing a shoot with the Hollywood Sign Trust, you're probably news, you're promoting the history, you're promoting tourism to Los Angeles, you're promoting the city itself and Hollywood sign itself, as opposed to using it as a backdrop in your film. So that's kind of the split between the two. And so often we'll field calls and we'll get information being like, okay, it sounds like you need to go this way, or we can continue handling your call.
Yeah. One thing, Diana, I wanted to kind of go back to, and you touched on it a little bit, but you know, when the sign fell in terrible disrepair in the late 70s, there was a whole movement to save it. Can you talk about that movement? Who was involved? Who sponsored the letters? Because I think that's the list of who sponsored it's like a love boat dream, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting because it was a question of, are we just going to tear it down? You know,
Yeah.
it was the 70s. It was a rough time for
Was that an
Hollywood.
option to tear it
Yeah,
down? Oh, wow.
that was the option. It was just, we could just tear this down and be done with it and not have to deal with it anymore. You know, and it was a rough time. So Hollywood, Hugh Hefner, partnered with the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. They were the ones who really spearheaded the message. And there's actually some really fun stuff that they put in, like, you know, promotions with jewelry companies, and like,
Yes.
I think McDonald's came in and did something, and like all these, you know, it's just like people rallied behind the sign.
Yeah.
And again, this was a sign that was crumbling. I mean, just destroyed. Actually, if you go see the movie Argo, they used the destroyed 1970 sign, but they're in the 80s, so they technically are wrong. That's another movie that I always point to, because I'm like, hey, Argo, you got it wrong, but I understand for artistic reasons. And so then they held this star-studded gala where they auctioned off the letters, and people like, yeah, Alice Cooper came.
Gene Autry was
Gene Autry was one of them. Hugh Hefner got the Y. He didn't get the H.
I'm surprised he didn't get the H.
No, I think the H was probably pretty popular. So I feel like maybe he was like willing to let that one go.
Yeah.
And it got auctioned for it. Some of them like dedicated them to Charlie Chaplin and all these things. So it was a real mix of celebrities and also just those names that you see popping up on buildings after buildings. Those LA legends who have dedicated their fortunes to promoting Los Angeles and really lifting up the arts world in that front. So I would have loved to have been at that party.
Me
It
too.
would have been amazing, but unfortunately.
Now, a quick question I have is, do you think the Hollywood sign still represents the same dream, or has its symbolism evolved with modern Hollywood?
I think the Hollywood sign still has that dream of, you know, that like hopes and dreams of Hollywood. I think filmmaking has gone more global.
Yeah.
And that might be a question, because we're now dealing with the bring filmmaking back to Los Angeles. You know, I'm sad at the idea of filmmaking leaving Los Angeles, because we get calls from people all over the world who are just hoping and praying that their dreams can come true here.
Diana, one quick question I have too is what are the goals for the trust? I mean, are things planned in the future that you guys are working on for the sign?
We want to continue promoting the sign and promoting its message all over. The visitor center that I was talking about is a #1 priority. We also would really love to change this landscaping. So the reason why Hollywood is called Hollywood is because, well, there's many reasons, but one of them was this woman saw these plants that had these red berries and thought they looked like holly bushes. They are toyon berries, and we would love to bring those back to the area and really build up the native landscape here, to not only protect the hillside from fire, but also promote kind of the history of Los Angeles and honor the people that came before Los Angeles existed. But again, it's all about promoting Los Angeles. Hollywood will want to bring people here. We want to remind them that this is a wonderful city. We have the Olympics coming up, the World Cup coming up. We have so many amazing events coming up in Los Angeles. We want people to see the Hollywood sign and be like, oh, we got to book our trip here.
Well, you guys do an amazing job. You really do. Now, final question. What does the Hollywood sign mean to you personally?
Oh, mean to me personally? Well, not only a paycheck, which is hard to come by in Hollywood.
Yes.
To me, it's, you know, I think people, they get surprised when they hear that I'm a native Angelino. You know, I'm born and raised here. There's very few of us. Most get out because they realize they can make their way elsewhere. But I decided to stay. This sign really reminds me of the dedicated people that are working really hard to make this city such a wonderful place. It's a city that exists unlike any other city. I mean, just trying to manage this city is insane. And so to any part that I can do to promote the city and to say, hey, Los Angeles is pretty wonderful, you know, that makes me happy. Yeah.
Oh, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Well, thank you so much for having us today, Diana. We are thrilled to be here. We're so happy that our listeners and viewers will get to see this.
We have to give the answer to this week's Hollywood Pop Quiz. Steve?
To remind you of the question, it was, what are the dimensions of the Hollywood sign? The height of the letters and the overall width. Diana, do you want to answer?
So the height is 45 feet tall, but fun fact, the Y is 46 feet tall, and the width is 450 all across.
Perfect.
Wow. This has just been thrilling
Yeah.
and a little exhausting, as you might be able
Yeah.
to tell.
Yeah. Right?
Thank you so much.
We force you guys to come up here so you can tell all your listeners and viewers not to come up
Right.
here.
Climb to the Hollywood
Yeah,
sign.
it's really hard to do.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And listeners, thank you for spending this time with us. We would love it if you would follow us on social media. Our handle is @FromBeneathTheHollywood You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. You can also watch the podcast on YouTube. And if you do that, give us a thumbs up and please subscribe.
And we love your emails, so keep them coming. You can email us anytime at info@FromBeneathTheHollywoodSign.com.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Diana. And that is literally this week's view
From Beneath the Hollywood Sign.
You've been listening to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign with Steve Cubine and Ann McNamara, the podcast that celebrates amazing stories of Tinseltown from its golden era. Join us next week for another episode and learn something else about Hollywood you probably never knew. Take a moment and give us a 5-star rating and a positive review, and tell your friends about us too. It'll help grow the podcast. Visit Steve's website at FromBeneathTheHollywoodSign.com. The executive producers are Steve Cubine and Nan McNamara. Executive producer and post-production supervisor Lindsay Schnebley. Associate producer and researcher John Price Ritchie. This podcast is part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Visit airwavemedia.com to listen and subscribe to their other fine shows like The Box of Oddities and The Shallow End with Schnebley and Toth. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved. That's a wrap.